Hello, everyone. I am Julianne Meyer. You are watching Own Your Wellness, and we are excited to be here today. I got to tell you guys something. This is something that I've been struggling with for a little while now. It's the whole getting married and not that part, but the changing my name business. It's like, okay, I've been me for 45 years now, and now all of a sudden I'm supposed to change my name. I don't know how I feel about that, or if I am going to do that for work. So I'm curious what you guys think and what you other female entrepreneurs out there have done in your lives when you've been, had a change of name possibility. So message me and let me know what you're thinking, because I want to hear what your feedback is. But today's show is not about me, and I have been looking forward to this conversation for a while, because when you meet somebody that just you hit it off with and you just think that they are absolutely amazing. Well, the guest today, she is that for me. And I'm excited to have her on the show so that you guys get to know her too, because she is doing amazing work in this world and you guys are in for a treat. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Kara Payton. Welcome to the show. So glad to have you here today.
Thanks, Julie. That is absolutely a perfect recant of our just instantaneous connection. After we were done with everything, I remember saying to you, can we just connect? Can I just give you my number? Can we just talk before this episode?
I know, right? And it's been, it's so rare when you find other females that you just have that connection with. There's none of that competition business or all these things that we're sort of inbred with from social standards and growing up and all of that. So it's so nice to meet you. And I'm really glad that you're here today, because obviously I think you're absolutely amazing.
Well, I'm excited
But
to be here.
yeah. But I would love for you to be able to share with the audience a little bit about yourself and your wellness journey.
Oh, wow. There's a whole like anybody though, right? Their whole story of just how they've gotten to where they recognized the first time they recognized something wasn't where they wanted it, all the way into get it, that journey to bringing that closer. And mine is no exception. It's a long stretch. I think I was 16 when I first realized that I didn't want to live in the capacity that I was living. And it just, lo and behold, it's that slow unshelling. And a lot of my lessons were learned face down in the dirt in the arena and having to come back up multiple times. And I would say that the biggest catalyst, the day that I realized that it was a participation sport is the day that I had climbed the ladder of what I viewed as success. Everything that I defined as success or beauty or making it or wealth or abundance or all of the fluff words that we hear so casually tossed around. I was married. I was a pivotal member of my community. I had checked off all the boxes. I was earning six figures. I was doing all the boxes were checked. And so I remember thinking that sometime very, very soon, with all these boxes checked, I'm going to feel done. I'm going to feel arrived. I'm going to feel successful. And oh my gosh, did the opposite not happen? Like crashing plates in a restaurant. I walked into my house after probably some volunteer event or a Bible study or something that was supposed to fill those little boxes. And I remember feeling like I was walking into somebody else's house. It was that strange foreign feeling, like, when you're not supposed to be somewhere and you just have that, that icky intuitive feeling that I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I had that in walking into my own house, and I opened the door and I collectively could comprehend in my mind that I was in my house. These are the stairs. That's my living room. That's my kitchen. And I couldn't go past that. It was a thought process, not a feeling of home. And all of a sudden, just it became foreign, and then it bubbled up into kind of just a frustration, because I thought, here I am. I have done it. I've done all the things that I was supposed to do. I'm doing all the things that are part of the process of creating this life, making a meaningful life, creating a good life for myself. I've done it. What else? There's no other box to check. And if there is, show it to me. What am I missing? And I remember audibly saying, probably for the first time where it actually came from the heart instead of just you pray and it comes from a place of obligation and it comes from a place of duty. And I actually audibly connected and said, God, if this is all that there is, let me be peaceful with it. I'm not peaceful. None of these things are working. None of this is working. And if that's not all there is to life, break me open and show me what I am missing, because it feels awful to be at this summit of where I thought my life was going to start making sense and find myself right back at the bottom on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately after that, very, very quickly, was there a sequence of events that was super, super, we'll say, earth-shattering, life-changing things. I moved to Japan for a month. I came back to divorce papers on the counter and an empty house. I moved into a house 2 days before Christmas, totally and completely empty, eating Christmas dinner on a Home Depot box. And I remember sitting there that night, 2 days before Christmas, eating my dinner in this empty house where I owned nothing. I had sold all of my possessions. I sold everything I owned and I was starting new. Quite literally, there was nothing left of the life that I had to the life that I was leading now. And not even in the address, not the name, nothing. I had no identity into the old. And you would think that being in this empty house, I would have been terrified. I would have felt that same hollow feeling that I felt in this house, where I had all of these established pieces of my life figured out. And it was the opposite. I felt trapped there and free in the empty house. It was totally opposite. I remember feeling an exhilaration and an excitement and a freedom. For the first time, I thought, wow, it really doesn't matter. Those things don't matter. This is not an outside journey. And that was the moment that I realized this is not an outside journey. This is an inside journey. And I've been doing all of the outside stuff. And so the wellness journey, I'm going to blame Tony Robbins first. I'm going to blame him because he was the first big catalyst in the volunteer work and coming on to being part of his events production team and doing team building for him and volunteering at all of these events, all the way up until being offered a full-time staff position, which I was so excited about. I did all of the work, all of the onion peeling, all of the understanding, all the way down to the roots of my human behavior and where I got to in my life and why. And I started to observe, even in the world, as I observed myself and observe others, I stopped seeing just these people in my life that were good for us, bad for us, indifferent to us, the way that relationships start or end, the way that careers and businesses flourish or decline. I started seeing habits, patterns of thought, patterns of belief, patterns of behavior. And it just was very interesting to me, and my fascination with why we do what we do, and then how we do what we do, and then what ends up being what we do, resulting from all of these already established belief systems and experience and past relationships and trauma. It fascinated me to the point where I was thinking about it 24/7, just trying to dissect the whys behind everything that I would do or think, like, why is that? Go a little deeper. And I'd always find something amazing underneath it, and an answer that just blew my mind and created all of this celebration. And so my world for the next 6-7 years after I left the Tony Robbins community and moved on to other mentorships and other coaching programs, and then eventually accidentally starting my own through all this process of the healing and the uncoupling, because there's so many great places in the industry. Tony Robbins is very mindset driven. It's very masculine energy. It's very go and take control of your thoughts, take control of your fate, your life, etc. But it was missing the spiritual piece for me. And so I moved on to the spirit, but then the spirit was missing the science. And then I blended, without even knowing it, in my own wellness journey. I took the mindset, the spirituality, the science, the physiology, the trauma, the emotional healing, and then blended it all into one program that was just my own journey, stacks of journals. And then it became what I know today as the Unshakable Woman method.
I love that so much. And as you were sharing, so many thoughts came up. The number one, though, was when you were describing, like the digging deeper and seeing things as they are. All I could think of was The Matrix, the movie with all the green. It was like you were seeing through the crap and seeing what was really there.
That's such a good metaphor for it. That is such a perfect metaphor, because you really start to become aware of the world, of the way the world is, and the way it's the tip of the iceberg. We think we see, and then a lot of people, they live in it and they don't recognize that they live in it. And you're in this, now you can't unsee any of this crap. And if you don't want to go into the healing journey, it's a real stark awakening, because you're going whether you want to or not, because now you're aware of all the ways that you trip yourself up and you fall on your face. And then you hear language like limiting beliefs, and then you hear more, and then conscious and subconscious and all this. You're going, there's days where you want to kind of go back into the ignorance is bliss thing, but that you understood, just like that moment of walking into my house, that ignorance is not bliss. It's complacency, and that complacency digs and ferments, and you're going further and away from your higher self. And so the Matrix is probably the perfect way to put it. I took the pill, and I'll be damned if I can't get myself
Oh, I love that. Something else that I really want to point out is this idea that, you said that underneath all of these things, there was something that blew your mind, like it was exciting and something to celebrate and discover. And I know that for most people, when they first start out, and usually not usually, but a lot of people, it's kicking and screaming. It's like, oh man, now I know to do something, to realize that it doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be, as some people might say, the dark night of the soul. It doesn't have to be anything except for what you make it. And if you can find those things, those gems, and keep digging, then I could see how it would be way more exciting and more like a game versus some torturous thing.
Yeah. And it really depends on whether or not we have the self-deprecating, the shaming, what we define it as. We use it as self-abuse, a point of self-abuse. Once we realize the way that we've operated, there's a lot of people, and it's so easy because we recognize something and a way we are behaving. Relationships are the biggest magnifying glass for these types of things. When we make these discoveries and understand how, hurt people, and then how we've participated in that process, it can be really easy to, flog ourselves over the head for things that we didn't know. And Maya Angelou has a beautiful quote that I try to keep at the surface. I don't always do it. I may be a coach, I may be an author, I may be a speaker, I may be so practiced in this, but it doesn't always come without the pain part, where I just go, I can't believe someone like me, someone in my position, someone that knows all of these things will still, and then I go, nope. Remember Maya Angelou's quote, it says, do better until you know better, then do better again. When you know better, you do better. And that is so true. Give yourself the grace to understand that while you were operating there, most of us really do the best that we can with what we have. And what we have is a decision on perception. What we have is an illusion. A lot of the times we see our resources being so limited. We see our options as being so limited. People that have suicidal tendencies are a perfect example. Suicide, in my mind and in my experience with what I went through, because I also struggled with that at a time in my formative years, is that it's a trick that your mind plays on you, where it puts you in a room, and instead of having all of these doors that the other parts of your mind would access, it shuts all those doors. It gives you a spiral, a loop, that there's no other option, that their pain is permanent, pervasive, and real, and that you cannot escape it. And so we look at the back door, ending our lives, as the only option. And it's only because we've taken that amygdala part of our brain, our survival part of our brain, and we've trapped ourselves there. And we literally, when we're in survival mode and in a stress response in that part of our brain, it shuts off all the lights to the prefrontal cortex, to our higher sense of self, whatever you want to call it. The thing that would tell you, hey, there's other doors. That self-coaching, that self-soothing, that self-parenting, that option for us shuts off. We don't have that higher faculty. And so I started to realize that how many tricks I would play on my mind, not only with something like that, but with looking at a relationship conversation or looking for a chapter in an area of my life. Fear of poverty is a huge one for people, where we look at our financial situation and we feel so trapped, and we don't see all the little doors that are cracked open. But it's like, you could be doing this. You could be doing this. This is an option. That's an option. And so that same energy, there's an energy field that goes with that too, that helps us to feel into this reality of feeling trapped. And so it's a vicious cycle, but it really is the biggest catalyst and most amazing thing that I've discovered, and all those little aha moments where you could have an option goes, I can't believe that I thought this. I can't believe I felt this. I can't believe that I did this. Or you can go, wow, I now know better. So let's go do better.
Exactly. You know, it's our brain. I mean, you know the science really well. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm excited that you're here. But our brain really is trying to protect us from anything that it deems, you know, uncomfortable, scary, threatening. And that could be the unknown. I mean, it could be anything that we actually truly want. But it's fascinating to me how we literally cannot see things that are right there. Like you said, all those little doors, all those little opportunities, all those little openings, that because we are not focused anywhere near them, we just literally can't see them. And I don't think I told you the story, but there was this time when I lived in Italy, and was the most mind-blowing thing for me. I was taking this art class in this landscape art class, and we went to the same spot every single week. We would paint for 2 hours. We'd go to the exact same spot and paint the exact same thing for 2 hours every single week. And I think we were about 6 weeks in, and I'm guessing, but it was a long time. And so we're like 12 hours in, and I'm painting away, and all of a sudden I'm looking at this same space that I've been looking at for 12 hours. Exact same space. And there's a freaking building there that I just didn't see. And I mean, we're in old town, like old Italy. It's not like there was somebody popped up some Home Depot. I mean, that thing was probably from the 1800s. And I never saw it. And I've been looking directly at the spot for 12 hours. And I never once saw that building. It took me that long to literally see something right in front of my eyes. And my whole point of being there was to look directly at it. So, you know, it was just one of those things that was like slap right in between the eyes. And I thought, oh my gosh, if I'm doing this with physical things, imagine how many things I don't see that, you know, could be of importance to me. So I'm really glad that you shared that. Yeah.
There's actually a really, really cool reason for that. And it helps us and hurts us depending on which edge of the sword we use. There's so many things, even just where we're sitting, just where you're sitting, the temperature in the room, whether or not there's a breeze, if there's a certain smell in the air, your sensation of your body against whatever you're sitting on it, the things that you're thinking on, the things that there's sensations on your body, the feeling of fabric on the sounds that are around. There is so much information that your brain is fully capable of taking in all at once. But in order for us to have a constructive conversation here, we would have to literally turn off our, not reception to it, but turn off our main focus to it to be able to have this conversation. Otherwise we would be essentially too overwhelmed to even do anything but mutter and sputter. The opposite occurs. We eliminate and generalize and make it easier to function as adults. I'm not focusing on the temperature in the air until now. I'm talking about it, focusing a little bit more on the temperature in the air, but I'm still maintaining this conversation. We do this all the time with important information. And if we are focused on, say, the fear of poverty, if we're focused on the lack and the scarcity and how much debt we have, or how much, how little is coming in and how much is going out, and that worry and the calculations, we are so focused on the reality of the way it is right now. And all we're going to do in the world is we're activating our part of our brain that in a survival mode has already shut down all things that don't involve survival. So we only will make what we must to continue surviving. And that every single thing we're going to observe is going to be eliminated except for what is needed to observe in order to preserve survival. And so the same thing can happen if we just chose what we're going to focus on and then determine that by repetition. We tell our reticular activating system in the brain to now find new information that goes along with what we've chosen to focus on. If it's poverty, we're going to find all different information that goes around poverty. It's perfect example is if you ever purchased a car, a certain kind of car, a certain color of car, and until that day, didn't really notice them around, but then the very next day you see them everywhere. Are there actually more cars? There's not actually more cars. What happened is your reticular activation system went, this is important information now. So now I'm going to start picking it up everywhere. If we were to take and direct and guide that in survival, not only, so your brain is looking for, like you said, the sharp edges, but after a while, it takes the sharp edges that are not so sharp and includes them in the sharp edges. And then the dull edges become sharp edges. And then we become so sensitized, not desensitized, but sensitized to anything that could be dangerous or harmful or hurt us or take from us or make us go further into this mindset of poverty. And it then lumps all of that together. And so we're even more, the blinders, I like to use this analogy that the blinders become more further and further and further and narrowly focused in to where this is where you see people who have absolutely realized this doomsday reality nightmare of, I am in poverty. I did file for bankruptcy. I did lose my house. I did become homeless. It's because everything around them becomes so narrowly focused on this dreaded desire. There's actually a light pole in Alaska at an intersection, and it's positioned as such there's nothing else around it. It's all open field except for this one turn that goes around this pole. It is the most crashed into pole, even though there's nothing that made the road chaotic or nothing that kind of makes this a hazardous drive, but is the most crashed into pole ever. Because it is directly by the turn where the focus is going, energy is flowing. We know this. And so the cars, countless times where this pole has been hit for no other reason than the fact it was at the point of focus.
I've never heard that. That is absolutely fascinating to me. I love that. On that note, we do need to go to a commercial break. So we're going to be back in just a minute. And for those of you who are watching us live, thank you so much for being here today. We totally appreciate it. And for those of you on demand, of course, thank you as well for being here. When we come back, we're going to be talking about what it means to be unshakable. So we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back, everyone. Let's bring our guest back to the show. All right. I just didn't want to waste any time. I am so excited about what you have created because I love this idea of not being thrown off by everything that's going on in the outside world. Because, you know, if you have to keep on making the world around you perfect in order for you to feel okay, then that's a lot of work with very few results. So I would love for you to share a little bit about what it means to be unshakable.
I love the way that you presuppose the question is just life coming at you and not being so easily thrown. And that's pretty exactly where it was, because in my journey, I noticed that I would find a new toy to chew on with health and wellness. I would be like, okay, it's a diet thing. Oh, I remember it's fiber and water. I remembered it's Bible studies, and then it was Wayne Dyer spirituality, crystals, meditation, moon circles, astrology. I would always find a new toy and chew on it for a while, and then ultimately find that my stuff, my life, kept sweeping my legs out from under me. And it was pretty religious that it would happen, where I would go throughout my life with all of this hope invested in the new relationship, the new job, the new financial status, the new credit score, the new hairstyle, the new whatever the case. And then it didn't work anymore. It was like I chewed all the flavor out of it. And the frustration would grow each time because I thought I had found the thing. I just needed to find the right guy. I just needed to make this amount of money. But the problem with that is, to our minds in the society we live in, once we have the target, we caught it. The target moves. And it was an ever fulfilling. I was chasing a moving target, and instead of realizing that I'm not running on a landscape chasing a moving target, I'm in a freaking hamster wheel. And when I realized I was in a hamster wheel, I finally I gave up. It looked like, for me, it was a very disenchanted. The unshakable woman method did not come from just a wonderful drop revelation. It came from me going, okay, I give up. I give up. I don't really know. I don't know what I'm doing in life. I don't know how to be happy. It's too hard. And people out there are just doing it, and I can't, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And I don't know, what the missing piece is. So I give up. And the beautiful thing was, my giving up all of the things I was trying to chase and maintain was the secret. Was the biggest revelation ever. Surrendering to it, stop trying to maintain all of this crap that doesn't actually really truly light us up. Me searching and finding out, like, who actually am I? What do I actually want? You can ask 100 people what it is they want most in life. 98 of them cannot tell you what that is, to a fine point. More than that, 99 to 100 can tell you what they don't want. But there's 98 people that cannot tell you what they want. I couldn't either. I was no exception. I wanted what everybody else wanted, so I thought. But when I actually shelled back these layers and peeled back all of this stuff about who I really was, I realized I was living pretty much an avatar of other people's expectations and loyalties to toxic relationships and emotional addictions and even family dysfunction that I felt obliged to. And furthering this journey, okay, what else isn't true? What's even truer than this true? What's even truer than this true? And going further and further into that organically causes one's soul to become unshakable. Knowing your truth, knowing what's not your truth. And I'm not talking about the modern day my truth, where it's basically just my perspective overlaid the top of somebody else's, to a cost of a relationship or our connections or whatever. What we do now, where we say, well, this is my truth, and it's basically just an excuse to dismiss somebody else's or spiritually bypass something. And it's an actual core design truth, who I really am. Not the program, not the habits, not the obligations, not the identities, not the status, not the experience, not the whatever, not the appearance. It's who I really was. and what I actually need from life to feel like I'm always in alignment with that. And this alignment with self, if you practice that and you get that, life can throw, and it does, any number of curveballs your way. And you become a whiz at batting at curveballs. And so in the health and wellness industry, I wanted to create something that was not just mindsets and mantras. And it was not just some modality of meditation or breath work that leaves somebody stranded going, okay, I've done the breath work. I unshelled all of this crap and now it's sitting here and I don't know how to look at it and I don't know how to define it. And I need some help and I need some coaching and I need some guidance. There's too much out there that is telling you this is the way and I'm the answer. I'm the answer giver. Too many coaches, too many authors, too many speakers out there that are saying, refer to me as the answer. Refer to, this is the way, come over in my form of the world. And that creates more followers. The world doesn't need more followers. We have plenty of those. What we need is coaches, leaders, speakers, authors, gurus, whoever, that are telling people to turn inward, that are turning them in on themselves to that wellspring of complete wisdom. All the answers are there. They're just being blocked. We don't have sight on them because we've buried them in so much stuff that we think we need to be and maintain. So if we can get people to understand you are your answer, and here's the flashlight. I'm going to help look at all these things that are getting in your way. What's this in your emotional attic? What's this in your emotional past? What is this that's gotten in your way? What are these loyalties and obligations and things that you've tried to maintain? Where are these things that you've buried in yourself? You help clear it. It's like decluttering a closet, decluttering a garage, get it all organized again. But then a good coach, a good author, a good mentor, a good speaker will then go, my work is done. And they won't constantly create this dependency of, I'm the source of your answers. You are the source of your answers. You always have been.
Amen to that. Oh my goodness. Thank you. I've always had a huge problem with, I've lived in many different worlds doing many different things. And when I worked in the addiction recovery world, the idea of having a sponsor, which, I'm not against anything in particular, but sponsorship in that world is turned into, you have to ask me what's okay for you to do. And I'm just, it's so horrifying to me when people and coaches are like, no, you have to ask me. You won't be able to figure it out on your own. I'm like you. I just want you to be able to figure it out and you can, never need me again. Let's remain friends. Let's move forward. But you know what? You've got the answer. And I just love hearing you say that because there are not enough people like you out there. So, that was just beautiful. Thank you. And also you have a podcast, right?
Yes, I do. I started it in 2020. It's called the Happiness Habit Podcast. And the Happiness Habit Podcast started basically just me knowing I started it in November. And so we had April till about November. And I watched the language. We had a good thing going in March and April when we're like, there's an end in sight. It's not really super bad. We're all in this together. And there was even humor. We were going stir crazy. There was a lot of fun, creative, people's just bright side came alive first. But then it slowly became, as fear started to really boil into a critical mass and we started polarizing and our opinions and I want this to be over. We need to mask. We need to vaccinate. No, we don't. Yes, we do. Who do you vote for? Who are your neighbors? Where is it became we became animals and our minds we went into the survival camp where we're starting to see this limited perspective. We all became, we were locked in our houses with nothing to distract us from all this stuff that's going on. And we had only us to face. And only our problems, our addictions, our behaviors, our emotional grossness, and all of the things that we used to do to distract or numb, it all came crashing to a halt where we're like going, oh God, is this all mine? I can't go to a party and numb out from seeing all this. I'm here with my spouse every single day, locked in this house, and we have a lot of communication issues. It just became we had to smack the brick wall of all the things that we were spending our lives busying ourselves with. And as I noticed the conversations start to flood around emotional discomfort and anxiety, depression, even suicide, and all of this fear-based stuff, I took all of the things that I had learned in my journey and just thought, maybe just this episodic, hey, if you're dealing with this, let's have a conversation about that. And I really didn't intend for a longevity type thing. I just was like, this could be a really great place to have my contribution to the world be something positive. Let's talk about anxiety. Let's talk about what it is. Let's talk about fear. Let's talk about political divides in the family. Let's talk about how to have these uncomfortable conversations. Let's talk about how to not be distracted when you're sitting in all your gunk and what to look at and where to focus first. And then here we are 3 years later, and it's still taken off. And now I've got these amazing guests from all over the world. We're downloaded all over the world. It's become quite the magnificent little thing.
That's a contribution right there. I'm so excited for you because everything you said so far has really resonated with me. So I know that I'm not the only person. So I'm really glad that besides working with you, which I'm going to actually put up your website one more time. Well, not just one more time, but also people can hear more from you on your podcast as well. So they get like a little dose. I love that. I think that's so much fun. We talked about your program. You have but when people come onto your website, what can they find here?
My website is kind of the hub because there's a lot of different places where people could need to be met right now. In a spiritual journey, there's some people that have absolutely realized that there's nothing else that they can do on their own. They can't see something and they need subconscious and nervous system help with a reset and discovery. They need to know what they're not knowing. And they need to know what their blind spot is. And that is when a coach is super powerful, is to help point out the blind spots, shine the flashlight, help them do the work, and then send them on their way. So there are people that absolutely will go to the website and are like, I know this is a subconscious barrier. This is something I need help with. There's people that don't really know what they need. There's some people that just need to be heard. There's some people that need community. There's some people that need support. There's some people that need confirmation bias that they're not alone. There's some people that just need to chew on some information. And so my website is essentially the hub for all people that know that there's a pit stop that needs to involve the help that I do in the world, but they don't quite know what they want or what they're looking for. And so it's just kind of a place to chill and hang out and figure out what you need. And so there's free offers. There's the group coaching. There's my workbook. There is the coaching program. There's the deep dive where we go intense and we go into these intensive sessions where I'll walk somebody through a line of questioning and a meditation point, and we find the sticky barrier that has been drawing them up, and then we pull them out of that, heal and soothe some of those things. So my website's a great hangout right now.
I love that, and I like the idea of being able to go there and find, I heard somebody say a while ago, and I'm totally going to murder this analogy, but you'll understand what I mean. And it was that, and I was talking with a branding coach, and he was talking about something that he had learned. And it was basically the idea of how when you are a coach trying to explain the unexplainable, like how do you talk about something intangible? It's not like a car where you can say it has this and that, it's not all these things that you can point out. But the point of that was that, and people don't know what they want until they don't get it. So I like this idea of not knowing what you need until you see it. You're like, absolutely, that's it. Okay, now I can work through this blind spot because I couldn't put words to it. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't quite see it, but I know it was there. And it sounds like that is perfect for what your website does, is point people to themselves already, right? Even from the very beginning.
A lot of people, they don't really know what they want. They just know what they want to feel. And so they follow their And so they need to resonate with something that's been spoken or something that's been said. And they need to know that they're being heard. And that's only something that can occur when they feel that they've been heard. And so my website, I set it up to where there's different places that they can go to, that they can kind of just, find a little group of people to hang out with for a little while until they feel whatever they need to feel safety. And so ultimately, that's all I want to do is create a place of safety no matter where I am online, where people can kind of just stop and breathe for a little bit. Whether they work with me or they work with somebody 10 hands down the row, I'm happy to just be part of the hands that they pass through. That's like, on this healing journey, there's going to be a lot of people that touch me along the way. Somebody offered a book, somebody offered a program, somebody offered a live event, somebody an ear, somebody offered a group coaching, a master class, or any number of things. But on the healing journey, all of those little touches matter for somebody to really get to where they want to go. And along the line, if I can just be a safe space and offer that place where they just feel like they're moving closer, that's literally the objective of the whole thing.
I love that. I love that. On that note, we do need to go to one more commercial break. So we're going to be back in just a minute. And I just got to say, isn't that amazing? Being around somebody, you can obviously feel and tell that the object is to be of service. The object is to help provide value to you. So without further ado, we do need to go to one more commercial break so we can continue our conversation. We'll be right back after these messages.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Welcome back, everyone. And all right, I once again did not want to waste any time because we are running low on our hour show. So during the commercial break, I was thinking about this this idea of just sort of starting where you are and moving forward. And you mentioned that it's like it doesn't have to look a certain way. And I think that especially women, we get stuck in this idea of thinking it has to show up a certain way, it has to look a certain way, or we won't necessarily recognize what's in front of us. And I mean, it's what we've been talking about for the last hour, but I'm just kind of curious, how did you know for you? Because I want this to be, like a full service type of thing where I know a lot of people who have been with coaches and it's great, but then they feel like they're ready to move forward, but they also have this loyalty to this person that they've been working with for whoever, who knows how long. How do you think that people can, get rid of that idea that we have to stay connected to, our whether it's a coach or a hairdresser or a particular person that does their nails or whatever the case may be, we have this, kind of connection, and we feel like, oh, I don't want to let them down. But ultimately it's our lives. And especially when it comes to living our lives, what would you suggest for somebody that maybe is ready to move forward with you, for example?
So we need to understand that our brains and minds and hearts and how we're built as a person, just our design is for connection. And so as we build these connections, whether or not it's time to move forward, we do have a sense of loyalty based on something that has nothing to do with anything that we really have charge over. It's in our inherent makeup to be connected and that was literally in tribal times. Disconnection, exile meant you got eaten by a lion. You were exiled and you were not in. So not being connected to our ancient mind means death. So you have to understand that there's going to be some resistance on both sides. I just did this with a long-term connection that I had where there was just a very obvious dynamic to the pattern in the relationship that was not going to be healthful for me, for them either. But there was a recognition on one side, on my side, that it was not healthful, and there was a lack thereof on the other side. So that I knew that there was not going to be a point where we were going to be able to, I hesitate to use the word negotiate, but just discuss a path forward that is workable. So I would first say, for anybody that is questioning a connection or something to them, where is the other person going to be open and receptive? Because that's going to be super key to know whether or not you're going to be able to have any type of uncomfortable conversation. And if that person is not open, it sounds like your path would be a lot easier then, because you're just, at that point you're just going, okay, I can recognize that, and it's time to just cut just like you did. It's just time to cut that time. But there is a graceful way to grow apart. And you don't have to be dishonest about things. You don't have to be crass with everything. You can say things in compassion. I've moved and grown apart from so many friends where there was just a growth mindset or a fixed mindset on one side or the other. And there's times where those conversations don't even really come up. There's a deep recognition on both sides that you're going in different directions. And it doesn't have to be something that is brought with a you and you and you statements that do tend to be accusatory. You can just, if there is a conversation that's brought up or somebody that is pursuing and pursuing and pursuing, you can just very gently say, I love you to pieces, and I'm so valuable, or you're so valuable to my life, and I'm so grateful for all of the time and experiences we've had. I do feel like our paths are growing apart, and it's not something that you have to say with any type of, you're not meeting me where I am, or I'm leveling up. There's no linear ladder or anything we need to compare anything to. You can just let it land with, I just feel that we're growing apart. Not compensate, not go in and save them, not go in and just let it land. A lot of people, we don't want to let the truth land. And then we deliver the truth, but we do this compensation bit on the other side that allows the truth then almost to appear negotiable. And it's not. So you have to be okay with staying in that truth. Another thing is, if you do see that someone is on the other side, is willing to have this conversation with you, there has to be a lot of I statements. I feel when, or I am when, or I just make it very truthful and honest. As far as moving forward in life and understanding that as new levels come and as you level up, there are going to be a lot of disenfranchised, disenchanted, disjointed, unseated, and uncouplings that are going to happen. Your mind does not want change. It doesn't even, your family and friends' minds definitely do not want you to change either. There's an expectation, there's a transaction. You used to behave this way. This is the way we used to do things, and now you're going off and becoming something different, and I don't really know how to process or deal with this. That's normal. Stay the course. You have to stay the course, because eventually there is a cycle that will occur if you hold yourself back that will breed resentment. And then any type of future uncouplings or anything like that they're going to be a lot uglier. They're going to be a lot messier. And it's just better to own the truth and do it with as much compassion as you could possibly offer yourself and others.
That is beautiful. I love that. That's a good way to put that. And that can be used for anything. That's what I love. It's honest communication, owning where you are and not making it about the other person, because ultimately we can't, it's not up to us to speak for them anyway. It's not up to us to know what's better. I mean, we can see things, but who am I to say what's better for somebody else? But I can talk for me.
Yeah.
It's that, that whole idea of knowing ourselves. Oh, I love that. Well, we are almost out of time. We have about 2 minutes left. Is there any final thoughts that you would love to share with the audience?
Yes, actually, I was thinking we would cover it earlier, and if we didn't, I'm going to end by saying the best way, no matter what you're doing in your journey, to create self-confidence, to create abundance, to move and level up in your health, all of that stems from keeping your promises to yourself. They don't have to be huge. They don't have to be monumental. They don't have to be complex. If you say you're going to do something, if you say you're going to do one thing tomorrow, do it. That builds a self-confidence and a self-trust to know that you have your own back. And when you develop a trust that you have your own back, you then create what is I refer to as the foundation for becoming unshakable. You know that you have you, and you become a self-referencing, self-fulfilling, self-reinforcing force of nature.
Oh, that is so wonderful. I love that so much, because it's true. I mean, if we can't trust ourselves, or we can't even do the simplest things that we say we're going to do, then why would we have any self-confidence? So that does seem like the number one building block for becoming unshakable. I love that. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. You've been an absolute pleasure, and I would love to have you back again, because you're just amazing. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a wonderful opportunity.
And everyone, that is all the time that we have for today. We will see you again soon. Enjoy the rest of your week.